In 480 BC, an army of Greeks led by King Leonidas I of Sparta faced off against an invading Persian army led by King Xerxes I of Persia. This confrontation is known as the Battle of Thermopylae. 2,486 years later, the film 300 depicting these events was released. Even though the film is based on real events, the story differs from actual fact. So we raised the question, how accurate is 300? Now we can't cover everything, but we will try to get all the major differences and the important points the film got right. The opening of the story shows a young Leonidas being trained through the agoge. However, interestingly, it does not mention that royalty is exempted from the tradition, and Leonidas only entered it because he was third in line for the throne, and therefore was one of the very few kings to have completed it, making him a hero-like figure among the Spartans. It then shows Leonidas assuming the throne at what appears to be age 18, when he actually did not take the throne until around the age of 51, only 9 years before the Battle of Thermopylae, and also makes no mention of the fact that Sparta had a system of dual kings at any given time. The Ephors, as depicted in the film, are described as inbred swine and more creature than man, and are completely fictitious except in name. The historical Ephors were an annually elected council from the Spartan citizenry, who acted as a democratic check on the kings. Moreover, they were not bribed by Xerxes to delay the Spartan army. En route to the pass, the Spartans are met by a larger force of Arcadians. While Arcadians did fight at the Battle of Thermopylae, the movie leaves out how many other Greeks accompanied them. We don't have an exact number, but estimates vary anywhere between 4,200 to 7,700. The Persian army is described as numbering in the millions. This number comes from the ancient historian Herodotus, whereas modern historians place the number at around 70,000 to 300,000. As for the battle itself, the timeline is mostly true to history. The fighting lasted 3 days, with wave after wave of Persians failing to break the Greek lines and losing as many as 20,000 men, while the Greeks lost very few, until a Greek trader named Ephialtes, who was not a hunchback, more on that in a bit, showed the Persians a hidden path through the hills and around behind the Greeks. After the plot was discovered, many of the Greeks withdrew or were ordered to do so by Leonidas. Sources aren't sure. The surviving Spartans and around 700 Thespians, amongst others, stayed behind to cover the retreat and were annihilated by the Persians, opening the pass for the invasion. The details, however, are much less true, starting with, sorry ladies, Spartans did not actually fight in leather speedos. They would have been covered head to toe in bronze armor, which was such an important trait of the Spartans that they are sometimes referred to as the bronze butchers of the battlefield. This change was made partially to make the Spartans look tougher and also to help audiences distinguish between characters. Also, all Spartans had plumes on their helmets, not just the king. But none of that compares to the appearance of the Persians, almost all of whom were inaccurate. They are seen using rhinoceroses and elephants, which would not have been present at the battle, as well as what appears to be early gunpowder weapons, around 1300 years before it was invented in China. The Persian Immortals are dressed like some sort of Japanese ninja, and wear metal masks over their monstrous-looking faces. And they're not the only ones. It seems that every other Persian character is deformed or mutated in some way, including what appears to be a goat man. Which brings us back to Ephialtes, who is shown as a hunchback Spartan who follows the 300 to Thermopylae and is rejected by Leonidas and then betrays the Greeks to Xerxes in exchange for wealth and a position in his army. The real Ephialtes was a Malian Greek, not a Spartan, who had no known deformities and told the Persians about the secret path purely for a reward, which he ultimately did not get after the Persians were defeated at the Battle of Salamis. Ephialtes is just the first of a few characters that were changed for the film. Xerxes is portrayed as a megalomaniac and referred to as a god-king, which would have gone against the Persian religion of the time, Zoroastrianism. Xerxes was called a king of kings because of the empire's system of vassal kings. As for his arrogance and rage, we have a less clear picture, as many of those sources are Greek and would not have portrayed him fondly. The character of Dilios is partially based on Astrodimus, a Spartan who arrived at Thermopylae with the other 300, but was ordered back by Leonidas before the battle after losing an eye to disease and not to deliver a message. He was met with ridicule and humiliation by his fellow Spartans, due in part that another blinded Spartan was ordered back with him, but instead turned around and charged the Persian lines blind. However, Astrodimus was able to redeem himself at the Battle of Plataea by charging the Persians alone and killing several before being killed himself. Queen Gorgo's role is in some ways expanded and in other ways diminished. Prior to the invasion, she accompanied Leonidas on many political trips to the other city-states, but she would not have spoken in front of the Spartan council. However, left out of the movie was her most important contribution to the war when a secret message about the invasion was sent to Leonidas, but neither he nor the Ephors could figure out how to read it until Gorgo told them to peel back a layer of wax on the tablet, revealing the message. But regardless of her real-life significance, she is definitely a main character of the movie, which makes it odd when you realize that her name is not mentioned in the entire movie except for the credits. And one of Gorgo's best lines?
What makes this woman think she can speak among men?
Because only Spartan women give birth to real men.
Is actually a paraphrase of a real quote attributed to her. In fact, a lot of the cheesier quotes from the movie are found in the records.
Combat with your shield. Or on it.
Our arrows will blot out the sun.
Then we will fight in the shade.
Lay down your weapons! Persian! Come and get them!
Go tell the Spartans, passerby, that here, by Spartan law, we lie.
That last one has been translated many different ways, but they were all recorded by Herodotus. As for the movie's most famous quote,
"This is Sparta!"
is not what Leonidas actually said to reject the Persian messenger. However, Leonidas did live in Sparta, so we can probably assume that at some point in his life he said something like it. We obviously didn't cover everything. We didn't mention the naval blockade that made the battle possible. We didn't talk about the important and complicated role of slavery for both the Greeks and the Persians, and we didn't mention the roles of the different city-states during the war. Should we have? Let us know. Tell us what you thought we should have included and what we didn't need to, and let us know if there's another movie you want us to take a look at. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for our next video.